how can you have a focus on making it easier for people to eat healthier, but without removing any of the joy from their life? We're focusing on sort of 3 sub-areas within the food environment. We're focusing on the energy content of what people eat. So this is broadly what food is made of, so you can think of reformulating food or the portion size of it, size and shape of it. We're looking at the promotions of food, so you can think about that as advertising, price promotions, where something is in store. You know, what food cues are you exposed to on a given day? Can we reduce the intensity of those? Can we push those more towards healthy foods than unhealthy foods? And we're also thinking about the access that people have to foods. So how easy is it to actually go out and get healthy food? And we don't mean this just in terms of physical distance, the distance somebody has to travel. We mean this in terms of general ease. So the access that you might have might be due to how long it takes to cook the food, or how difficult it feels. Does it feel normal to you? Do you have to walk past 10 different less healthy shops before you get to the supermarket? Even if it's only a 10-minute walk away, that could feel like quite difficult. So yeah, broadly we're trying to improve the food environment to make it easier for people to eat healthier. We love the work of Susan Jebb's group at Oxford. They do loads of really cool, interesting work. They do lots of things around generating novel data. And one of the particular projects we're interested in is looking at some web scraping activity they've been doing on price promotions data. So you can see what types of food are on sale at any given time. And perhaps unsurprisingly, it tends to be the less healthy foods that tend to get the sales. The other sort of group that we follow the work of very closely. It's 2 groups really at Cambridge. There's Teresa Marteau's group, the BRHU, and CEDA. You can broadly configure that. Martin White is probably the most prominent academic in that area. So if you Google scholaring people, if you look up work by Susan Jebb, Teresa Marteau, and Martin White, that'll give you a good idea of some of the people who are influencing our thinking. Make the food environment healthier. I mean, that's our goal, right? The macro goal for us is to halve obesity by 2030. I don't imagine that will be a linear progress. So, we don't expect to see 10% change in each of the 10 years. So what we're looking to see is change in the food environment. I think a lot of focus on healthy food looks at demonizing individual macronutrients. So people will be familiar with the things that need to be low fat or low sugar. And this can be a helpful heuristic to people, but it can kind of miss the broader picture. And particularly it can miss interactions between those things. So, they're helpful for consumers, but broadly at the end of the day, for any change in weight, you need a change in energy imbalance, which boils down to energy content, and those are calories. And to be clear, we're not advocating an approach of counting calories, an individual agency approach where you need to spend all of your time totting up the number of calories that you've had in a given day. Or what we need to focus on is, if we want to see a change in weight, we need to have a reduction in the number of calories that people consume. My favorite book in the area is called The Hungry Brain. That sort of belies I have a background in a bit of neuroscience, so it comes from quite a sort of basic science perspective. And I think what's interesting about that is having both a biological basis for the mechanism that's, increasing the likelihood that you would eat, and also pairing that with people's sort of lived experience. What makes me hopeful is that the change in energy balance required in order to actually halve obesity is not huge at an individual level. And so what I mean by that is I think it's perfectly possible that people could have a delicious, relatively easy diet that doesn't cost lots more and be a healthy weight. So in that sense, it feels like the system needs to change to prioritize different things, but that is not an impossible task. We're not asking for cold fusion here. It doesn't require a technology that totally doesn't exist. It's totally crazy. I think the other version of it is, if we look back to relatively recent history, let's say the 80s, and much lower rates of obesity. Right? And so, has anything really changed in our genetics since then? No, definitely not. So it's doesn't require some sort of brand new technology. And indeed, we were in sort of a situation that was much healthier in terms of weight within recent memory. So you can map out the things that would need to change, and those changes across, those are big changes across the population, but it doesn't mean that people's lives have to feel entirely different from how they do now.